Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show on this very wet and dreary night. Joined, as per usual, by Mark on the other end in Nuremberg. How are you this evening, Mark?
Not bad at all. Yeah, it's also well below zero here as well. I think -3 or so. So yeah, definitely well into the winter season now, aren't we? Obviously, Christmas market started as well in Nuremberg, the famous Christmas market. So yeah, get yourself down to Nuremberg if you want to see some great markets and some great football as well, of course. Because obviously this weekend we got the latest edition of the derby, haven't we? The Franken derby. So yeah, got heading over there on Sunday and looking forward to it, even though I'll probably freeze to death in truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Yeah, got a lot to go through tonight. So yeah, obviously reviewing the weekend's football. So looking forward to getting stuck into that. Lots of late goals and drama to unpick. We've got the FP Pokal returning midweek, so we'll do some predictions for that in due course. And big news today around Sandro Wagner and his removal from post. Yeah, Marky B, happy as Larry with this news. Wagner and FC Augsburg have separated ways this afternoon, and that is what we will open the show with, reacting to that breaking news. Before we get into any of that, just a quick reminder to leave a like on the show if you possibly can do. Remember to comment if you're watching us live, and also subscribe to the channel. And yeah, make sure you give a look at our two excellent partners. Firstly, being Covert Football Trips, and of course, Bully News. So right, straight to it. I think fair few things we want to get through tonight. So we're going to get stuck in, Mark, and I'll very happily hand over to you with this news around Sandro Wagner. We know the numbers around it, and his tenure has obviously been a wildly unsuccessful one. The news also coming out that Manuel Baum will take charge on an interim basis until the winter break, which is 3 games. Obviously, Baum being a former coach of the club. So obviously your initial feelings, Mark, are, feelings of elation and jubilation, it would seem.
Yeah, Wagner raus. Yeah, it's finally happened, hasn't it? Yeah, it's only been 2 months too late as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, what can you say? I mean, the man who probably spent more time picking his outfit for the match day than actually training his players, by the look of it, a lot of the time. In all seriousness, I think I made my thoughts quite clear, obviously, as an FCA sympathiser. I just didn't like him right from the first. And I think you and I did a show, Rory, didn't we, when it was initially announced? And I was always a massive Yes Torup fan. I was always a Yes Torup fan. And for me, it was a no-brainer to keep him on for another season. And I remember saying at the time, Rory, I said, basically, you can either keep Torup and guarantee you're going to be in the Bundesliga for the foreseeable future, or you can try and go for the glory and bring in like a young, optimistic coach, and you run the risk of getting relegated. And that basically FCA have chosen the latter, and unfortunately fallen foul of the latter as well in that case. Yeah. So I definitely think it's a case of it was a poor decision to appoint him in the first place, a man who'd only had experience at Unterhaching. Obviously, at the time in the Regionalliga, the 4th tier of German football, that was his highest level of first-team coaching that he'd ever had before this season. Obviously, he had his stint at the DFB as well as assistant manager to Julian Nagelsmann, but assistant is a different world, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's a different world. It's different skills involved. I think as an assistant, you can be like the nice guy, the kind of the guy who's putting the arm around your shoulder and things like that. And that's what he's good at, I feel, Sandro Wagner. He's a people's person, but he's not a leader. That's part of the problem. And for me, he just, not only was he not a leader of the club, but he tactically was poor as well, basically. And I think his record of only 4 wins in all comps in 14 games, one of them being a Pokal fixture against Halle, 3 in the league, but obviously it was the number of defeats that did him ultimately. 8 league defeats in just 12 games is relegation form in any league at the end of the day. And as things happen, like the Augsburg gods are still protecting them. And we always used to say, Rory, before Torup came in, when Augsburg were kind of flirting with relegation every year, we used to say Augsburg never drop into that bottom 3. It's just like God, some kind of like magnetism keeping them out of that bottom 3. And even though Wagner's really messed up and he's averaging less than a point a game with just 10 points through 12, they're still above that bottom 3 as things stand. So there is stuff to work on for Manuel Baum. He's only on interim for the next 3 games, as far as I know, until the winter break. And then I guess they'll look to bring in someone more permanent. A lot of who they can actually get is going to depend on how they perform in those 3 games. Because if they are in the bottom 2 or 3, then it's going to be slim pickings, unfortunately, for the FCA. Because, they are a small club by Bundesliga standards. They've got a good squad for them, but it's not like a world-beating squad at the end of the day. So I feel as though they have to be outside that bottom 3 by the break, and then maybe they can go and get a more experienced defensive-based coach, which for me is what Augsburg need ultimately. The squad is very defense-heavy. They do lack kind of very good strikers, truth be told. And I feel as though they've got to go back to that pragmatic, Torup style if they want to stay in the Bundesliga. Do they have enough to stay in the Bundesliga? For me, yes. Will they? I'm not sure. A lot of that depends on the next appointment, potentially. Baum himself probably fancies getting the job because, he's managed, as you say, Augsburg for a few years in the past. And also Schalke as well. He actually has quite a decent CV, but fans will probably hope that they've moved on from that and they want someone a bit bigger name, perhaps. But we'll have to see. But obviously, it's trying times at the FCA. But is it the right decision for me? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely fairly summarised there. I picked up something on X earlier this evening, looking at the points per game records of Augsburg head coaches since 2011. Top of the pile is your boy, Jes Torup, with 1.32 per game. Wagner is in 10th place, bottom of that pile with 0.93. Interestingly, Baum is 5th on the list for his spell with 1.14. So, the maths adds up. The tenure was not a successful one, sadly, for Wagner. And Augsburg looked to move on after, another defeat over the weekend, which we'll lightly touch on later on in the show. But big news for your Bavarian brothers, Mark. And we'll watch that with great interest. Firstly, to see how Baum gets on in these next 3 games for the winter break, and then secondly, after that, who may be given the reins thereafter. Off with that breaking news and to the football that happened over the weekend. We've got a couple of games, obviously, that we want to focus on, games with late goals in and games that were quite interesting as well. We're going to start off with Freiburg hammering Mainz 0-5 by 4-0. A really chastening afternoon for the 0-5ers. Freiburg looked in control for the entire match, scored some nice goals, did what they're good at. They almost led within 5 minutes as Hurler scored a nice lob, but he was narrowly offside. But then, Kubler It's quickest to react from a corner. Obviously, set-piece goal is what Freiburg do well. The next goal was quite a nice goal from Freiburg, going down the right-hand side, leading to Hurler setting up Captain Fantastic Grifo to score from close range. Easy work there. And then, Mark, I guess the final hammer in the coffin in the first half, particularly, was that red card to Nabel. I've not seen many replays, or I haven't been able to see many angles of this red card. Did you agree with that decision?
Yeah, I think it was a very, very high foot on his leg. It could have been potentially dangerous. Obviously, the second red card of the season for Nabel as well, after he was dismissed in the opening game of the season, I remember, against Köln. So, yeah, I think his drop of form has kind of summarised Mainz's season, really, in many ways. Because obviously last season he was a breath of fresh air, wasn't he? Obviously got involved with the German national team as well, and his career looked on a really good trajectory. But he's not had a good season at all, unfortunately, this year. And that poor challenge, late challenge, high challenge was ultimately the end of him. He's probably going to get a long ban too, because obviously he already got a red card earlier in the season, which I think compounds potentially a 3, even 4 match ban on the cards for him there. So he's going to get an early Christmas by the look of it, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you say, in the second half, obviously Manzambi scored a really nice goal. Good play from him and Suzuki before finishing comfortably into the corner. That basically killed any even minor chances. Bester almost scored as well, his first goal for Freiburg after a...
Yes.
But there was a clearance from Kawasaki, I believe it was, who cleared one off the line. That would have been another, but it was to be 4 as well, obviously, after a kind of easy finish from Osterhager. Completed a truly, truly miserable evening, really, you could say, for Mainz. I mean, they were just woeful in this game. As you say, the disallowed goal after just 4 minutes was very, very harsh. Like, the German commentary couldn't believe that they chalked that out, because all the angles looked like he was onside. And I was watching on the DAZN commentary, and they all said it's a goal, it's a clear goal, and the next thing is ruled out. So it was a very, very harsh one,
haven't we?
Yeah, I felt it was harsh.
Yeah. So, I mean, lots of positives for Freiburg to take out of this. But what I put on socials and what I've been, tentative to suggest on this show this season is that, I thought the entire time that Mainz weren't really in trouble and something was going to turn around for them. But, I have to hold my hands up and say, you know what, this isn't happening anytime soon, and they really are in trouble. So I'm willing to take my medicine on that one, because I really thought that they would be able to turn this around. So I thought I'd just do a bit of digging, to be honest, as to why is this not going to plan. And there are obvious things around it. Their discipline's been terrible. Couple of injuries, couple of players dropping off form, the mix between domestic and European play, how they're balancing that in terms of the squad depth. And then so I also looked at a few statistics as well in terms of how they're doing and where things are missing. So obviously they're not scoring goals. They have the second fewest amount of goals in the league with 11. They're also joint second for worst in the league for shots, 133 so far. But on the side of that, they also have the highest number in the league of efforts that have hit the woodwork, that have hit the bar or the post, with 6. So is there a thing of mine simply being unlucky at times and in games? So that I thought was interesting. They also have the lowest pass completion rate with 77%. But aside from that, also have the highest number of aerial duels won with 277, and the most crosses from open play by like 13, and also, of course, a joint top for most cards and red cards. Obviously, I've reeled off a few stats there, Mark. Does anything shock you? Does that all make sense in terms of what kind of is being reeled off from a statistical point of view?
Yeah, I think the fewest shots always says a lot, really, because one of the fewest shots, because at the end of the day, if you're not creating chances, you're not going to score goals, basically. And I think the fewest shots is a sign that they're just not really creating many chances, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, the most off the post, yeah, you could say that's bad luck, but you know what I mean? It's not enough there to say that I think they've been unlucky. I think they've been poor, to be honest, this season. And I was kind of with you, Rory. I felt as though they were always going to get out of the trouble, but I am starting to worry. I watched the whole of this game, and they were frigging bad, really, in this game. They were. I think that was the worst performance of the season. It really was. It was. I mean, you've got to give credit to Freiburg as well, of course, because they were good. It was probably their best performance of the season in the league. And they were finally able to show what they've been doing in Europe in the domestic scene. They were good and they were at it from the first minute. But, I mean, Mainz were just bad, really. Defensively, they're all over the place. I think that's another issue. The defensive personnel has just fallen off a cliff, basically. Like, I think Danny da Costa has finally met his mark, basically. You know, he's done well fitting in there in defence for years, really, now. But he's just lost it, basically. Dominic Hardcore gets a red card every other week, so he's basically never available. Yeah. So in this game, they had youngster Karpa Potulski in the game, and he just didn't look up to the grade, really, truth be told. Another issue they've got is the Zentner injury too, because Lasse Reese, he's been poor, truth be told. Yeah. He doesn't look Bundesliga standard at all, basically, for me. So it's defensive problems as well as striking. And then obviously the striking, basically Hollerbach just hasn't got going in a Mainz shirt at all. Like, I know a guy here in Germany who's a big Mainz fan, and he said that he believes that's the biggest issue, is the Johnny B departure. And then he just believes that Hollerbach just doesn't fit the team at all. And but it's also been a lot of players going off form too. Like, we've not seen much of Amiri at times this season. I think, as I mentioned before, Nabel has massively gone off form. He's not had a good season. I think the only one that you could say has been really good this season is Sano. His performance level has still remained similar to last season's, but there's been a lot of players just not done it this year. And as you say, they're also juggling European football as well, which they're doing okay in. But obviously, I mean, they had to go weak. Bo Henriksen had to basically rest the entire team against Université Craiova in midweek. So they pretty much sacrificed that game for this game. And then they served in a performance like that. So the German commentary were kind of suggesting that maybe Henriksen is on his way out as well. They were saying that how long is he going to get now? Because Mainz, it's not the first time since we've been covering this show, Rory, that Mainz have had a stinking start to the season, but normally they come good eventually. Last time was when Bo Svensson was sacked in the end after a long period of success with the club. Then obviously they brought in Bo Henriksen, didn't they? But it looks like it might end up having to be the other way. I will give him a bit more time yet, truth be told. I think he's earned the right after that brilliant season he had last year. But let's not forget, they only won one out of the last 9, the back end of last season too. So it's been a truly woeful run. It's been 2 wins in 21 Bundesliga games. And put it one way, if they put a similar run to that for the rest of the season, they'll be down without a doubt. So nobody had Mainz even close to the relegation discussion this season. But at the moment, they definitely look like candidates, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, the stats say it all. Winless at home in 12 Bundesliga matches, going back to February. 5th red card of the season. Their XG was 0.14 for this game versus Freiburg's, which is over 4. Their record against Freiburg is really bad as well. I don't think they've ever won at the new Freiburg Stadium either. Miserable for Mainz. Respect to Freiburg. They put in, like you say, Mark, I think their best performance of the season and are looking good. So congrats to them. We will now move on to a couple of games that had late drama and late goals in them. And so we start with Hamburg 2, Stuttgart 1. This was obviously played on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, interesting game this. Obviously, from a Stuttgart point of view, very disappointing after the real positivity that's been around the club after a good win in Europe. But yeah, Mark, Sebastian Hoeneß was playing rotation roulette, and I think this one backfired really badly. And Hamburg were able to make the most of it. I know, like, we'll talk about the late drama, which obviously determines the result of this match, and it's a result that never should have been allowed to happen. But Hamburg, took the lead, and it was a kind of blast from the past, I guess, in the form of Glatzel getting his first ever. Is it his first ever Bundesliga goal, or it certainly is his first?
His first one for Hamburg,
First one for Hamburg, and his first competitive start for them this season. And he took his chance, took it really well. Some good play by Rossing Lelicit, who burst through the midfield. Played a nice through ball for Glatzel to smash home. For 1-0. That got them into the break. Obviously, unfortunately for Glatzel, he had to go off injured not long after scoring the goal. And then another injury determined that Undav would enter the fray, as would Leveling at half-time for Stuttgart. And Mark, they looked a lot more comfortable. They looked a lot more on the front foot in the second half, getting that early equaliser. A couple more chances thereafter to maybe take the lead. But then we get the red card, a second yellow for Rossing Lelicit, the second yellow looked so harsh to me. I don't know what you think about that. And then, obviously you're then thinking Stuttgart are in a very comfortable place here to minimum take a point and probably go on and win the game. They have a chance to put the ball in the box in the last minute of the match, and they decide to play a clever short pass, which goes amiss. Hamburg then break really well at pace. And there's Balde who manages to get the ball into the box and, get it through to substitute Fabio Vieira, who slots home to lead to jubilation for Hamburg to win it right at the death. This was the most, for a VfB Stuttgart fan or fans, that must have been infuriating to lose the game like that. Absolute self-destruction from one end of the pitch to the other.
Yeah, it is. As a fan, that's what kills you as a football fan, basically, isn't it? Because at the very worst, you're thinking we got a point in the bag, we were behind. It's okay, it's a big stadium with a good atmosphere and things. You're thinking, okay, take a point. But to lose the game from there against 10 men is very frustrating. It really is. What can you say? Stuttgart obviously are having to deal with a very large fixture list at the moment. I just didn't like Hoeneß's lineup at all in the game in the first place. And I thought at the beginning, they started really poorly, actually, truth be told. I think if Glatzel had stayed, Peter and I have been calling for Glatzel to start for weeks now, really. And he finally got his start. And I thought it was a brilliant finish, really. And he looked really good in that first half an hour, but so brutal that he picked up that injury. And then, when Stuttgart fans saw our boy Königsdörfer coming on, they must have thought, thank God for that. And it kind of proved to be the case, truth be told, because he didn't really do any. He messed up quite a few decent half chances, didn't he, in the match? And kind of sums up his season anyway. But that was the changer, really, in many ways. I think early doors, Hamburg were looking really good, to be honest, in the match. And then, as you say, kind of common sense prevailed, really, and he brought Undav on, and Undav continued his brilliant spell of form with yet another goal. But yeah, some of the game management was really poor in this one. I felt as though the red card was harsh as well. We've seen quite a few go against Hamburg this season, actually. We've talked a few. I think when they got 2 against Köln just about 3 weeks ago or so. And this is another one that's gone against them at the minute. But, one thing you've got to say about Hamburg is that they have a lot of character in that team, and they got a last-minute level last time at home against Dortmund, and then they've done it again to get the winner in another game where they were big underdogs, really. So they're showing fight, this Hamburg side under Merlin Polzin. I think you've got to say they deserve the win, really, the way they approached the game. I think, they were dominant in that first half an hour, I felt. I thought they had the better system. The goal was very good initially. And obviously, in the end, it was that man, Fabio Vieira, who got the goal. Obviously, he got dropped from the side going into this match, which was a little bit controversial considering, he came into much fanfare, really, didn't he, in summer? Obviously, it's the big kind of summer signing. But he hadn't really shown much, but this could be a turning point for him as well, personally.
It's been hit and miss for him,
He really has, but it was a good little finish there to win the game for them and obviously send the Volksparkstadion into raptures, really, didn't it? It's another big result for them at home. They're starting to turn the Volkspark into a bit of a fortress now, which is what they need to do. They probably need a little bit more luck with decisions going the way and also with injuries, because the Glatzel, Polzin was probably thinking, finally, I've got a number 9 this season that can actually put the ball in the back of the net. And now he's got injured like minutes after scoring the opening goal. As for Stuttgart, I just think this season they seem to have a bit of an issue with strength in depth, truth be told. I think it's not the deepest Stuttgart squad. They need Undav out there. I'm going to be honest. For me, I would just have him down as a regular starter every game. And if I was going to drop him in anything, it would be Europe, actually. I would drop him for European games and have him out in the Bundesliga, because he's back on form again now. He's got his confidence back, and you need him out there. You need him out there because, the hat-trick he got against BVB the other week was top. Another good finish in this game here. And you need him out there because they went with El Canus as a kind of striker, and I think he's not got the physical presence for that, really. He's not a striker. He's a number 10 all the way. I think the midfield, Nate has never really done it for me, truth be told. I've never really been a big Nate fan. And also, obviously, Pascal Stenzel starting this game as well. I mean, talk about squad. He's the definition of squad player, basically. They just roll him out when there's nobody else, basically. And it was a case of that. You can see why at times, because they were exposed on that left side at times in this game. So, learning curve for Stuttgart, I think it was a frustrating afternoon for them because they probably should have been able to get the 3 points in that second half with a few more smart moves from both players and management. But obviously, they lose the game. Congrats to Hamburg. Everyone's rooting for them to stay up this season. We all want them to maintain the status, and they're doing pretty well going about that. They really are. They're now on 12 points. They're averaging a point a game. That will be enough to keep them up. Probably need to do a little bit more on the road in games, but at home they are doing well. And I think that they're going to be good enough to stay up for me this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your point on Undav is very well made. I think the only time where Stuttgart can really afford to do that is when Demirovic is fit, so he can actually play as a striker and kind of serves the purpose of how Stuttgart play, with Demirovic in the team. But I agree. I think El Canus probably struggled in that kind of sense, and is much better as a 10. Great win for Hamburg for sure. And Sergio saying Stiller moments to forget. The man who took the free kick after coming on as a sub to try and rescue the game ends up kind of losing it for the VfB there. Right, we will move on to another game that had high drama at the end of it, which is Union Berlin 1, Heidenheim 2. A huge win for the away side. Their first away points all season mark. They were the only team to not have collected any points on the road so far this season. It looks like it was going to remain the case because they were 1-0 down. Very late onto this match. In the first half was pretty quiet. Honzak hit the bar for Heidenheim, but the only goal of the first half came from in form, goal scoring wise, Rani Khedira, doing well after some good play from Anza, managed to get the ball in his direction. He smashed home on the half volley, a really nice goal there. Into the second half, chances for Union, particularly Dookie with a couple, and Walter as well, I think. But again, going all the way through this, it looks like, the game's getting away from Heidenheim. Same old story, away from home, Mark. But super subs galore. And it feels like Heidenheim have actually done quite well in this area and department through Frankie Schmidt and his substitutions and his tactical choosings, because two subs go on and make the impact in terms of scoring the goals. The equalizer late on is from created by some really nice play down the right-hand side by Traore, and does well to get the cross in. And it's Schimmer that makes a really nice connection at the near post and gets it in close to the near post there. Really accurate for 1-1. Then they get a corner in the 94th minute. Swung in, outswinger, but another sub. Shoeppner this time, really good header, gets up well, and again scores it at the near post for the 2-1 goal. Again, sending Heidenheim into rapturous celebrations, the players and the away fans, of course. Mark, again, a game full of drama at the end of our match here. The game built up and was going in a fairly inevitable direction. But Union shocked and done right at the end. And like I say, super sub city from Heidenheim and Frankie Schmidt.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching this on the conference and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, to be honest with you. It was just incredible, really. I mean, Union, as you say, had looked quite comfortable the whole game, but you were thinking, I think Steffen Baumgart realised, they needed that second goal. They weren't able to do it. And my God, the character that Heidenheim showed in that last few minutes. And obviously the Schimmer finish was a really nice finish at the near post, actually. That was a good one. And then they just got that corner, last kick of the game it was. Literally the second that goal went in, the full-time whistle was blown. And what a priceless 3 points that is for the FC Ha. I mean, that is just huge, basically. They actually rested a few players that we normally see on the starting lineup as well, the likes of Searsleben, Shoeppner, Ibrahimovic. Those guys were all rested for this one, but maybe that's the way forward. Let the other guys kind of do the running and then bring on the more technical players to score the goals at the end. But I mean, it worked brilliantly for them, and it's a famous win, really, for them in many ways, because obviously Union came into the game on form. We talked about frustration for the VfB, but I mean, for Union, it's the kind of thing that kills you as a football fan, that really, you 1-0 up at home against bottom of the league, and to lose that game from that position. I mean, I can't imagine how frustrated Union fans were at the end of that. But on the other side, I mean, Heidenheim fans must have thought the Christmas had come early, basically, with that one. 2 goals in the last minute. It's exactly what dreams are made of as a football fan. So I'm really happy for them. I'm happy for Frankie Schmidt, because, to be honest, after last week's defeat against Gladbach, he looked out of ideas, truth be told. And, he did basically tell us he was going to be making these subs in the build-up. And it worked, obviously. It really did. I felt the likes of Adrian Beck had a good game. Traore was another one that came off the bench and got the assist for the first goal as well. So, these are guys we're used to seeing in the first team. I think Njoho's came in and did well too. Honzak, who's not really had the best season, did pretty okay as well. So you got to give credit to them. They obviously changed the system. Normally they've gone with that back four for ages, but they went with the 3-4-2-1 in this game. And I'm not going to say it worked a treat, because they were second best for most of the game, truth be told. But that character, that Heidenheim character, which kept them up last season. And by the way, the table now doesn't look at all bad for them. They've come from bottom into 16th after that, and they're only 2 points away from outright survival. So, the last 18 months, really, we've been just kind of waiting for Heidenheim to get officially relegated, but they just refuse to do it. And they keep getting these wins out of nowhere, really, and it's just keeping them involved with it. And they managed to do it last season, then win the playoff against Elversberg. Who's to say they can't do it again, really, this season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you say, it wasn't necessarily the fact that they were the best team. They scored their only 2 shots on target, and obviously those shots on target came from 90 minutes onwards. Obviously, if you discount Honzak's effort being off target, which apparently hitting the bar is, but Heidenheim had have a good record against Union. They've not lost in their last 11 competitive matches now.
Wow.
Against them. So sometimes those bogey sides, you have those good records. It just happens like that as well. So great win on the road. Needed one for Heidenheim, like you say, Mark, because I think that just really reignites a bit of hope, and rightly so, as you say, because they jump into 16th place, leaving Mainz rock bottom, and also jumping ahead of Pauli as well. A great afternoon in the end for Heidenheim. Where the last game we're going to concentrate on is going to be the Leverkusen Dortmund game. This was a closely fought contest. One again that I feel really ignited in the second half. Obviously, Dortmund getting the win in the end and leapfrogging Leverkusen into 3rd place in the table. I think this is really interesting again, Mark, because I feel like substitutes also again had their say in this contest, rather than kind of like those star names necessarily. First half, couple of chances for Leverkusen. Poku particularly maybe should have scored, but the one goal comes from the wayside as Anselmino gets up really well to win a header to get past Flecken in net. From a set piece there. So great header from the new man, and I think a lot of chat coming from Dortmund is that there's quite a keenness to keep the player on a permanent basis. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. Into the second half, it was, chances were starting to come a little bit more fluidly for both sides. But again, up to the point of the second goal mark, they weren't quite hitting their mark, Guerreiro or Paddy Schick. The substitute of Fabio Silva coming on probably brought a lot of attention. Certainly wasn't something that star boy Guerreiro was overly pleased with. I think he was quite upset, and his reaction on the bench drew a bit of criticism. And apparently he's apologised since to Kovac. Having watched it, I didn't feel like it was a terrible reaction, to be frankly honest. Also, if you see a player that comes off the pitch and is really happy, I'm not sure that's the sort of character you want. So I think fair play to Guerreiro, to be frankly honest. To see that passion, although people might dub it as being selfish. Either way around, the substitute Silva has an impact. He gets the assist, a lovely cross for Adeyemi's header at the near post. Really good goal actually. From the winger, from the forward. Leverkusen then started to push forward. They ended up hitting the bar twice. I think both times. Once from Hoffman and one through Poku. Dortmund should have killed the game though, shouldn't they? With that chance for Julian Brandt after good play from Nemetcher in the middle. But right towards the end, again, late drama-ish, I guess you could say in this one. A hopeful ball was played in by Marza, and substitute Kofane did really well to redirect the ball into the back of the net to give Leverkusen hope. Didn't really materialise after that though, Mark, and a really important away win for Dortmund ahead of a rematch midweek in the Pokal, which we'll talk about anyway. What did you feel that you took out of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting one because obviously, Leverkusen came into this game on the back of that famous win at Man City, which a lot of Bundesliga fans were celebrating really quite big. And there was a lot of hope for Leverkusen. Now, I didn't feel as though they played badly in the game, but they just fell short of basically what Kovac's Dortmund have done ever since he came in, basically. And they're just very efficient at getting 3 points, effectively. I would say overall, I would say Leverkusen were the side that impressed me the most, really, in terms of like their on-the-ball ability, particularly in the first half. That they wouldn't know how they went in 1-0 down in that game because, I mean, that was really Dortmund's only chance, really, the Anselmino header. For the 1-0. But the second half obviously came much more alive, and it was a really good game. It was the game that we all hoped for in the second half, really. And Adeyemi, as he often does away from home, he is a good away from home player, on the break. And obviously he got what ended up being the decisive goal, didn't he? Leverkusen will be frustrated, though, as you say, they hit the post a number of times. Was it minimum two, even three times in the game, which is very, very frustrating for the home side. It's unfortunately it's become a bit of a theme for them in the big games in the Bundesliga that they just can't quite get over the line a little bit. They've become one of those teams that, they play well in these kind of games, but they don't get over the line in them, and they don't do the right things at the big time. Because if they'd have got that first goal in this game, I think they would have won, not comfortably, but they would have won for me. It was always going to be one of those games where first goal wins it.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
I feel as though Leverkusen are still doing better than what I expected, to be honest. I think there's a lot of high performers in that team at the minute. I think Marza continues to grow. He's going to be their next big star, I feel, really. Marza, still only 19 years old. Polku is another one that has impressed me quite a lot in recent weeks, too.
Recently.
Tillman, I guess some people would have said they should have gone with Kofane to start ahead of Tillman, because Tillman, let's say, isn't for everyone, really. The big money signing. But overall, I think things look okay for Leverkusen, really. I think they exceeded my expectations performance-wise this season. Obviously, they're still running that 3-4-2-1. The back in Europe at the minute, they're back in with a chance even of the top 8 at the minute. They're pretty much shoo-ins for the top 16, which is the top 24, sorry, which a lot of people wouldn't have thought. The way they started the season, I mean, most people would have thought they're going to bomb in the Champions League, basically, but they've not done that. They've obviously got a tune out of Hofmann again, which is nice to see from a Bundesliga perspective, because he was probably the one bad note about Xabi Alonso's reign, I would say, the fact that the way he treated Hofmann, because I feel as though he's a better player than what Xabi Alonso treated him as, and I'm happy that he's back in the team. The versatile midfielder. For Dortmund, you've just got to give them credit. Like, I don't think they were amazing in the game at all. As I say, I think Leverkusen had the better system and actually played the better game, truth be told. But that's what Dortmund do under Kovac. Dortmund win games. It's as simple as that, and you can't argue with that. Even though Guerreiro really isn't hitting it in the league at the minute, they keep finding ways to get goals, and obviously Anselmino is the latest one. Adeyemi flits in and out of form. I think the thing with Dortmund is that the whole team is inconsistent, basically, but they still, what Kovac is doing well is he's picking the right players for the right games, and I think he deserves a lot of credit, really. He's not for everyone, and I know that even not all of the fans are totally sold on him, truth be told. Some of them want to see more Dortmund expressive football. They want to see them play on the front foot a little bit more, particularly away from home, where often they let other teams have more of the ball nowadays away from home, and they kind of play on the counter, which is not traditional Dortmund style that they got used to under the likes of, Klopp, Tuchel, even Favre at times, and Terzic were all front foot kind of managers. But that's not what we've seen from Kovac. But it's another win. It's another big win for them. 4 points from Leverkusen and Stuttgart, you would take that ultimately. And obviously now that the table looks good for them too, they're sitting quite pretty in third at the minute, 25 points. They're out of the title race. We already knew that, but teams are playing for the best of the rest this season. It's as simple as that. And if Dortmund get best of the rest, for me, it's been a good season for them, particularly if they can win the Pokal, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. A big win for BVB, and I think you've spelled that out quite well in terms of how the match looked overall. Both teams can't be unhappy with where they currently stand in terms of being in the top four, well in the race for Champions League spots for next season. I think we'll obviously see that race develop over time with the likes of Hoffenheim, Stuttgart, and Frankfurt wanting to also put their best foot forward, particularly. So speaking of best of the rest, we will now just run through the rest of the games that happened at the weekend at a much more breezy pace. So just to summarise, obviously we entered the weekend on Friday night with the opener being Gladbach's 0-0 draw with Leipzig, a game that didn't quite live up to the billing in terms of being a good Friday night watch, which we've not had for a while. But good point for Gladbach. Their run goes on in terms of unbeaten in 4 in the league, and really looking quite comfortable now. Obviously scored a goal through Frankie on a rat, and I was mentioning close calls earlier, Mark. I mean, that offside was so tight.
Yeah, it was. We had a few this weekend, didn't we? Really,
which is frustrating. But we're not going to get into that again, as we've had a good old moan about VAR a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? So fair result, 0-0 draw there. Leipzig happy enough, still obviously in second place. 1-1 draw between Frankfurt and Wolfsburg at the weekend. A lot of people had this as a home banker. Frankfurt still just tripping over their own feet, Mark. Can't quite get going after what we saw positivity from them initially at the start of the season. The consistency certainly has dropped off. A good goal from Gente at the back post, which looked like it was going to get them a very rare and needed away win, although a late penalty from Batshuayi saved Frankfurt and got them a draw. Elsewhere, there was also a 1-1 draw between Werder and Köln. And again, more late drama, hence the title of our episode this evening. Werder looked like they were going to take it after a good close range header from Friedel, and I think deservedly were 1-0 up. But Köln started to play a little bit better, and that man, can't take him out of the headlines, can you, Mark? El Mala, just being positive, dribbling, getting at players, creates his chance. Although the goal comes via a big deflection, you've got to be in it to win it, and that was more positive play for them. Another red card we saw, this time for Stark, getting a second yellow, but Werder in the end held on for a 1-1 draw there. And then 2 big wins before I move on to Hoffenheim and Bayern, anything that you wanted to pick out from those 3 games in particular, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Bayern one is the one you're going to be talking about. Huntonji doing it, probably his first good thing since the middle of September, really, obviously giving them the lead. Then, Bayern doing what they do. They just about scraped level through Guerreiro, didn't they? But then they hit the post 2 or 3 times in search of a win. I think Harry Kane probably had his worst game in a Bayern shirt, to be honest, in this one. It just didn't work out for him at all. Like, he missed a number of presentable opportunities. But obviously, if it's not Kane, it's Diaz, isn't it? And obviously, Diaz did find the back of the net through a well-worked move. And then Jackson added the gloss to the scoreline. But I think for me, you've got to give credit to Pauli in this one. They've actually matched a very unwanted record of 9 straight defeats. That is actually a record, a joint record. So if they lose the next game against Köln this weekend, it's going to be an outright record, which we just didn't see happening after 3 games, did we, Rory? But this was without doubt the best performance out of those 9 defeats, and they were very unlucky to lose it, actually. I thought they defended to a man brilliantly, and it was quite sad, to be honest, when I was watching the conference. I hoped that they could nick on for a draw, but obviously it wasn't to be. And But they deserve credit. So I've got to say credit to Blessing and his side. And obviously they have unfortunately equaled that unwanted record, but they look on a better way after that game. They'll have learned a lot from it. And I think, hopefully going into the Köln game this weekend, they'll be in a bit more confident state of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as we've already touched on, the Hoffenheim game against Salzburg was the final nail in the coffin for Sandro Wagner and his tenure. The game being wrapped up by halftime with 3 goals for Hoffenheim. Goal for Toure, another one for Würzburger. He's really impressing in that midfield, and a rather unfortunate own goal was it Matsima that got the own goal?
No, it was Zessiger.
No, Zessiger. I mean, Augsburg thought they got a consolation goal, a nice one, at least from Asende, but yeah, how's your luck? Teets is offside in the build-up. So again, no joy for Augsburg. And we talked about the connotations for them. In terms of the table, only a couple points off that playoff spot. Miserable kind of current state. So we will watch their form now under Baum with great interest. Hoffenheim mark up into 5th. Joint on points with Leverkusen. I think as Peter called early in the season, stands to reason that they are a really strong team and will be strong throughout the rest of the season. We'll watch them with great interest as well. So with that in mind and all covered up, we will now just do a couple predictions to end tonight's show. We're back with the FA Pokal midweekers. Looking forward to this, Mark. So we can just run through these and kind of pop in our thoughts. So if we want to start with Gladbach, St. Pauli, I'm going to say 3-1 to the home side.
Yeah, you've got to go with that. I go 2-1, but you've got to be looking at Gladbach for this one.
The rematch, Dortmund Leverkusen, should be another good game. Dortmund at home this time. Be feeling good about themselves. I can see a home win. I will say home win. I have said a home win, so I have to stick with what I wrote down earlier. I've said 3-1, but I'm a little bit more on the fence now.
I'm going to go 1-1 Dortmund on penalties this one. I think it's going to be tight because it was tight at the weekend, and Leverkusen will feel a little bit annoyed about losing that one. So I think it'll help them raise the game a bit. But just like they did in the last round, I mean, they've had a rotten draw, Dortmund. Let's not forget they had Frankfurt away in the last round too. So I could see them, as they did in that game, getting through on penalties. But it's going to be a good one to watch anyway.
Yeah, should be. Yeah, absolutely. Bochum Stuttgart should be a good cup game. This, I think, Bochum are on. They're on a bit of a run in the Zweite. They're looking much better now. I can see this one going all the way. So I've said 2-2, with Stuttgart winning on penalties. I hope.
Well, this is a hard one, because Bochum, as you say, under Rösler, they've been really, really good. Under the former Wigan legend, Uwe Rösler, they've won every game apart from one, I think. They look really good under him. But the VfB rested players. I think a lot of the reason why they rested players for this game, because they want to go back-to-back in the Pokal. Obviously, it guarantees Europa League, so it's definitely worth winning. But Bochum are going to be tough. But I'm still going to go for the VfB. I think with a full team out, I think they'll get a 2-1 win after extra time, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, obviously, friend of the show, Rye, will be watching that game with great interest as well. Next up, Union Berlin Bayern. I think this could be another good game. Obviously, Union, the only team in domestic sense to have taken points off the champions. I think this could go a long way, and I'm going to say Bayern to win 3-2 after extra time.
Well, I just feel as though Bayern this is what they want more than anything this season, really, the Pokal. They've not won it in 6 years, and they've had a lot of embarrassments in this tournament as well. So my God, are they going to go strong in this one? And obviously Union, it's not going to be easy because they're the only league team to take points off them this season. So it's not really the draw they would have wanted. But they are going to get an easy win this time, I'm afraid. I'm going to go for a 3-0 Bayern win for me.
Very good. I'm going to say Leipzig will ease past out of Nick. Magdeburg 4-0.
Yeah, 3-0 Leipzig. They should be able to beat, even though Magdeburg beat Nuremberg, unfortunately, the weekend. But Magdeburg are going to win. They're not going to win against Leipzig, who are also going to be targeting this tournament. So, yeah, 3-0 home win.
Yeah, HSV Kiel, I think could be an interesting one. Hamburg at home gives them the edge. Kiel are a bit about a nick as well, I think, in this fighter. So I would say 2-1 to the home side.
Derby, let's not forget as well. It's a North German derby. This one. But yeah, you got to go HSV. I'm not really sure how seriously HSV are going to be taking the cup, obviously with everything really in on survival and re-establishing themselves as a Bundesliga side, but they should win 1-0. I don't think it'll be a great game, this one. I think it'll be a bit... Both teams will make changes, I feel, in this one. So 1-0 HSV.
1-0 HSV. I see Freiburg getting past Darmstadt. 3-1 for the home side for me.
Yeah, this is another one. Freiburg at home against weaker teams. They just never fail to win, it seems. So 2-0 Freiburg.
And then last game is Hertha versus Kaiserslautern. Both teams neck and neck in the Slider at the moment. Both in decent. Well, Hertha in great form, aren't they? Obviously, being at home, I think they will do the business. I will say 3-1.
Yeah, I think Hertha are definitely in the better form of the two, but I just think Kaiserslautern and the Pokal, they just love the Pokal. They actually have a really good record at the Olympiastadion as well, and can imagine there'll be a lot of FCK fans there. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 FCK on penalties for this one.
Very good. Yeah, well, no, it should be a good atmosphere in the Olympiastadion. Lovely stuff. That wraps us up neatly in a bow. For our first show in December. So we're all feeling very festive, of course. So, yeah, thank you all for watching and listening to us. So I'll just hand over to yourself, Mark, to end tonight's show.
Yeah, so don't forget that we're not only a YouTube channel these days, we're also a podcast as well. So don't forget to check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give us a rating. We're also on all social medias as well, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the Bundesliga Show as well. So check that out too. And we'll see you again on Thursday for the big night, obviously with the predictions and fantasy show. So thanks a lot, guys, and see you there. Bye-bye.
Cheers all.